Page 257, Halacha Yud. We were talking about how far the hole has to be from the edge of the talit, from the corner. So says Maran, Im haya rachok ma'kanaf male kesher gudan. If it was far away from the corner, the distance of a knuckle of a thumb, is that what it says?
Yeah, it says one must make a hole for the tzitzit relative to the length of the talit. It must not be above 3 finger breadths.
The next halakha, Yud, 10.
What? Oh, I'm sorry. Consider a case where the tzitzit were originally separated from the corner by the joint of the thumb. Then they were ripped from the fabric of the garment until there was no longer the proper shiur with the set measurements.
The set measurements.
Yeah, left when it was put on. Since the garment fulfilled the requirement when the tzitzit were originally attached, it is kosher. The custom is to reinforce the area around the hole in order that it shouldn't tear to less than requirement. What does that mean?
I mean, so it doesn't get too close to the corner, like we mentioned last time, that it's not kosher.
Yeah. Similarly, a reinforcement is made at the corner of the garment for this reason.
Okay, very good. So let's pause. That's all you have to know about this halakha. This idea here in the corner, one where they actually this time doesn't really do it well, but where they reinforce the hole around it,
right,
so that it doesn't tear.
Yeah.
So easily.
And again, what they reinforce here on the corner, these are all meant. They're old Jewish customs, and the Ramaz bring this down that there's at least an Ashkenazi custom for sure. I've seen it in all the Talitot today, which is so that it doesn't tear. Because in a situation where if this tears and it ends up right here, it might actually invalidate the talit.
Right.
And therefore, the custom is here they just glued it. That's pretty cool.
The talit, or because of the tzitzit, or the talit?
Because of the tzitzit. Very good. It's not because of the talit ripping, it's because of the tzitzit getting too close, getting out of the area that it has to be in order to be a kosher tzitzit. That's all we need to know about this halakha. Thank you, Jack.
Oh, hey, come on, anytime.
Done deal.
There's more where that came from.
There's always more where that came from.
Okay, let's see this here together. On page 258, there's the halakha that I was mentioning last week, and here there's a source for it. I mentioned to you Ashkenazi custom that some Ashkenazim do, most don't, but some do.
Was that the 2 holes?
2
Very
holes?
different.
Yes, the 2 holes, very good.
You don't do it that way, do you, John?
No. Yesh nohagim, lamed daled. You see the second section on Yesh nohagim. Yeah. Some have a custom lasot shnei nekavim bekol kanaf, to make 2 holes in every corner. I wish I had a way to show you how this looks.
I thought you had a sample.
Yeah, but not here. No, that wasn't what I was referring to. What I showed you last week was a specific to Chabad. It's not what Rav Avadia is talking about.
2 holes in every corner.
Yeah, do you have a piece of paper, maybe?
Glass in your aunt's store.
A piece of paper, perhaps? A blank one? No. No, let's... Okay, no, thank you. Okay, so imagine... Ignore the spacing of the tzitzit, because obviously if this was the corner, it would kind of be over here.
Yeah.
Right? So ignore where it is. Just imagine it's this kind of situation. What they do, this custom in Ashkenaz is like this. I'll use the blue one so you could see it. They put the tzitzit through one hole, and out the same hole.
Same hole.
And they tie the knot right here on the front. So instead of tying like we would, instead of doing this, where they put it
Tie
here,
it to itself.
and make a knot on the corner like that,
Yeah.
their custom is to stick the string in and make the knot on here.
In the middle of the two.
Right here is where the knot sits. Have you seen this before?
No, but is it because it reinforces it more?
No, we're going to see why in a minute. But this is just. Do you understand the custom? Or
Isn't there Eli who
I've
has
seen them
have you seen this?
many years ago.
You've seen this if by Hasidim. Very good. Hasidim wear their talitot like this. Tzitziot. I don't know about talitot, but tzitziot like this. And we'll read it inside. I'll see more. But this is just. It's called. You know the vowel in Hebrew that has two dots. What's it called?
Oh no, it's like a,
What
like-
is it?
Atzere.
Sereth?
Atzere.
Sereth.
It's what you say. Well, we Sfardim say the same thing as a segol, the three dots. It's what Ashkenazim would say a.
Yeah. A? Oh,
Like-
A. You mean A.
Like Elokeinu, that
Yeah.
vowel. Malkeinu, that
two
one.
dots over or
You
letter?
mean horizontal
Underneath the
dots,
letter.
horizontal
Underneath it,
dots.
Yes.
You said dots, and I was thinking
In Spanish.
vertical.
No, not a shva.
Yeah,
Very good.
right,
No,
right.
Sere.
Pena.
Yeah,
We Sfardim we say so Elokeinu, Melech,
yeah.
Malkeinu. We don't say
A. Okay, no. If you were from Rochester, you would say A.
All right. Some Hasidim say I. You know that. Malkaini. Elokaini.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah, they pronounce that as an I.
Hungarian style.
No, but let's suffice to say that's not one of the original ways to pronounce Hebrew. Either the Ashkenazi A or the Sephardic A. Those are the two ways. The I is like an invention somewhere. So they have a custom. ומטילים את 4 חוטי הציציות בנקב אחד. And they put the 4 tzitziot in one hole. ומוציאים אותם מן הנקב השני. They then bring them back around to the second hole. ונמצא שיוצאים חוטי הציצית משני הנקבים. And therefore they have two. The strings come out of both holes. ומנהג כמה מעדות האשכנזים לעשות כן בטלית קטן בלבד. Some Ashkenazim have a custom only to do this with the small tzitzit, but not on their big talit. Okay? Aval,
The wool
but
ones, I may have a set at home of wool ones.
that looks like that. It could be. If
I'll
you
check.
find it, I would love to,
Oh, yeah, I
to
have
bring it in. Okay. אבל הספרדים ועדות המזרח, but the Sfaradim and the Jews of the East. בכל המקומות, in all the places that they were, לא נהגו לעשות שני נקבים כלל, they never had this custom of making two holes, ואין לשנות המנהג, and one should not change this custom. ומי שקנה בגד של 4 כנפות. Now let's ask you a question. What about a Sephardic guy? He goes to Judaica or doesn't know any better, and he bought such tzitziot. He bought them. שיש בו שני נקבים, that has 2 holes, ורוצה להטיל ציציות בנקב אחד, and asks, listen, but I want to put on Sephardic tzitziot, meaning, I want to ignore the second hole and just use the normal 1 hole. Can he do that? Does he have to sew up the second hole?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What's the
Good concept.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So he says, Rashai לעשות כן, he's allowed to use the 1 hole, ואין צריך לסתום הנקב השני, he does not have to close up the second hole. Just ignore it, like any other hole in a piece of clothing. It's not nothing major. והנוהגים לעשות שני נקבים, on top of page 259. Those who have the custom to make 2 holes, צריכים להיזהר שיהיה הנקב העליון בתוך 3 אצבעות משפת הבגד. והנקב התחתון למעלה ממלא כושר גודל הבגד, קשר גודל הבגד, גודל משפת הבגד, sorry. Basically, both holes, he says, if you want to do 2 holes, you have to make sure both holes sit at the right spot that we mentioned in Halacha Tet. Meaning,
The 3.
the finger and the 3 fingers, it has to be within the prescribed space of putting in tzitziot. ויעשו הנקבים במקביל לרוחב הבגד כאין סרה, ולא באלכסון. He says they should make the 2 holes parallel to the width of the garment, of the tzitzit, of the talit, ולא באלכסון, not in an angle. Should be 2 holes like this, and not 2 holes like that. So if this is the corner, should be 2 holes, not 2 holes. Okay?
So is this Rabbi
David is
Ovadia?
that. This is Ravadia's son.
Well, he's a Sephardic,
Yes.
so why would he be interested in 2 holes?
Very good. Can I use your question as a springboard to discussion?
Yes, you may.
Okay.
Do I have a choice?
You could say no, and then I'll just
No,
not
go
use
ahead.
your question, and I'll have the discussion anyway.
Well, we'll come up with another way of asking. Or I'll ask it.
When I went to study for smicha in Yerushalayim, I was bothered by the way I had started studying for smicha in Baltimore. That was, we learned Shulchan Aruch, we learned Ramah, but the practical halakha was missing. And I very much felt that it was geared to a very specific crowd and audience, and then you're supposed to only know one way of halachot. When I came to Israel, I said, I want to know, not just the Sephardic way to study halakha, not just Ashkenaz. I want to know all the ways to study halakha. And they laughed at me in yeshiva. At the time, I didn't realize because that's what we do in the yeshiva. But they said, learning Shulchan Aruch and only coming to Ashkenazi conclusions is like learning the Chumash by only reading Rashi. Like the Ramah at the end of the day is a commentary on the Shulchan Aruch. And if the Sfaradim follow the Shulchan Aruch, so you must, if you learn Shulchan Aruch, you must know what the Sfaradim do. If you learn the Ramah, you most probably know what the Ashkenazim do as well. So to find people that, sorry, I don't know how to paskin for Sfaradim, or I don't know what Ashkenazim do, it's a very strange, it means that you skipped like entire sections of Jewish law. At the end of the day, you must have studied the Rambam somewhere. I mean, and I must have studied Rashi and Tosfot somewhere, or the Mordechai and the Chavetz Chaim, of course. So what I'm trying to say is the way halakha is taught today, in most places outside of the United States, like in Israel, you have to know halachot for everybody. And so when Rav Ovadia approaches this sugya, he says, it's not my custom to do it, and in fact, I might think that it's wrong. But for those who have the custom to do it, I'm going to fill you in on what their rabbi said the way you should do it. And that's the beauty of such a style of learning, is that it's relevant to as many people as you can. I very often find in many Sephardic books this, let's quote what the Ashkenazi rabbis say and what should Ashkenazim do here. Rav Ovadia is famous for his line, but our brethren, the Ashkenazim, do, or they say, or they hold. And it's, people say, why is he always calling them our brethren? Why can't he just say, because he doesn't want to say there's one halakha, because it's not true that there's one halakha. I did the same thing in my book here. Can someone just pass me this? I have one here, never mind. I saw that one. I have here, there's a chapter that I have on various Pesach customs, on Gebrachts. So I said, Gebrachts is not our custom, da-da-da. And then I added here a section. This is my conclusion. There's no reason at all to be stringent in this regard. This is, okay, we added this. And then, in conclusion, Sfaradim and Ashkenazim do not observe this custom. Those from Hasidic families are permitted to be lenient in this regard as well. Once the proper method has been followed, you need to get rid of your custom. And then I have another page and a half of halachas for those who are stringent, meaning those who ignore what I just said. These are the things they need to know about keeping this custom. So when I wrote this, one of my for my wife's time, like, are you something wrong with you? You just said you don't have to do it. Why are you also telling me those of us who do it, this is what we should do? Because that's how you give a complete picture of the Jewish world. And obviously I would understand an Ashkenazi person would be, hey, Rav Ovadia, you don't follow this custom, why are you telling me how to do it? Okay, that's a fair complaint, but you have to believe that he's coming from a noble place and not from a place of trying to...
If you did that all the time, wouldn't it be quite lengthy?
And it does, but that's the point. I'll tell you, there's...
You have instead of this much, you have this much.
Yeah, I love Rabbi Moshe Feinstein's works. I have to tell you,
I
really
love
do.
you this much.
It's really a special She'elat V'Tshuvot, the Igor Moshe. The one thing that it's lacking is almost zero Sephardic representation. And it's fair. Rav Moshe Feinstein was a rabbi in the Lower East Side of New York, and I don't even know if there were Sephardim floating around the Lower East Side of New York when he was around there. I don't know. Like, it wasn't.
They were sinking, not floating.
So I don't know what was going on. What?
Was he well respected in Israel when he was alive? I think I read somewhere that he wasn't. I don't know if that's true.
I mentioned him in the class too. Unfortunately, not as much as we respect him here. It's the Israelis' problem. Not a good thing about them. It's their problem. If they would listen to Rav Moshe, they'd be a little more normal. Rav Eliezer Waldenberg, who was the chief rabbi of Shaar Tzedek Hospital, and left behind some 27 volume of halachic responsa. Rav Moshe left behind 9. So understands a huge amount of halachic books. I bought the set a few years back. Rav Waldenberg was, being an Israeli rabbi at a Shaar Tzedek Hospital, you should see him. He answers a question, and we'll say, listen, this is what we do. He's answering to like Hasidic Rebbes are writing him questions. What should I do? And then he says, but the Ben Ish Chai writes this, and even Rabbi Yavad Yosef said that, and Rabbi Ben Zion Uziel says this. And it's like he knew the Sephardic opinions as well as any other Sephardic rabbi, to the point where sometimes Rabbi Yavad Yosef references Rabbi Waldenberg as he says that this Sephardic rabbi said that. And that's the kind of Torah that's helping the world come out today, is that it's an understanding that we both want to follow our customs, but we can't be ignorant of the others' halachic opinions. And that's what we try really hard to do.
It gives you a certain perspective, contrast, and more of a rich ground for what you're doing. It doesn't become such a narrow view of things.
Absolutely. There's a teaching from Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, and Likutei Moharan. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov says that those who struggle with the fights between tzaddikim, with the arguments between the different groups and denominations, he said they should study more halakha. And when I first read that, it almost sounded like that's not what you should be studying. If you are bothered with the fights between rabbis, you should not study halakha. That's all we do in halakha, is we fight with each other. Yes, Sfaradim do this, Ashkenazim do that, Yemenite do this, Rambam says this, Shulchan Aruch says that, the Rama argues. Well, that's not the place to go.
That's more like a debate than my Rebbe's better than yours, or condemning this Rebbe as opposed to this one. That's more of like an emotional war attachment than an intellectual debate about
right.
something.
Okay, very good. And I agree with you. And I've changed my interpretation of this Rabbi Nachman a few times over the years. My current feeling about Rabbi Nachman is when you study halakha, you are forced out of your comfort zone. It's no longer my way or the highway. You will not find one book that has everything the way you do it. It's not going to be that way. Rather, you will always be forced to hear opinions that you didn't know existed before. And once you start to hear that your opinion is not the only opinion in the Jewish world, it doesn't confuse you as much as it really, okay, there's room for other people to do what they do. And that is very powerful. And what that does is say, okay, so that rabbi, that was his thing. Yeah. Good. That's great. You're a student of his. Run with it. I also have the right to have my rabbi and my opinion and my custom, and it doesn't put me off. It doesn't scare me that you're doing something different than me. People who are ignorant in the realms of halakha, it's only, you eat that? Oh my God, I don't know if my kids can play with your kids at the park. What does that have to do with it? Where does that come from?
Yeah.
It comes from an approach of, it is only my way and I'm not familiar with any other way.
It's one thing to be presenting different arguments and saying, this rabbi said this and this rabbi said that, but if you're a Sephardic rabbi and you're telling Ashkenazic Jews that this is the correct interpretation, if you're Ashkenazic and yet Ashkenazic Jews might disagree with that, wouldn't they feel like a little bit that, who's this guy telling us what to do? It
happened a lot. Rav Vadia has made a big complaint about him, was he would paskin for Ashkenazim what their text actually meant.
Yeah.
And people said, who do you think you are? With other respect, you want to tell us Sephardic guys in Jerusalem what to do, go for it. You're going to come tell us how to understand what the Chavetz Chaim really meant?
Yeah.
That's really the nerve, the audacity. And Chacham Ovadia's attitude was, he's not just your rabbi. With all due respect, it's not just your book. I also have a right to this book. And I by the way, I agree with your sentiment 100%. Because it's like if someone would come and tell me what Maran really meant, what the rabbi, you think you know what Maran really meant? It's my rabbi. But it's a juvenile reaction, and then you have to get over it. But the truth is, Rav Aviner was asked. So should you ask, if you're a Sephardic Jew, should you go ask a Sephardic rabbi questions, or can you also ask an Ashkenazi rabbi? Now, Rav Aviner is living in Israel, where rabbis are expected to know both. And he says, you just have to go to the rabbi and say, I'm Sephardic. And you should expect that if he's a true Torah scholar, he won't tell you what he wants you to do, but rather what your rabbis want you to do. And that takes a certain integrity. I can't promise you that everybody has. But people call me up some of those questions, and I'll tell you, are you asking me for my answer or what you should be doing? Yeah. Two different things. I will tell you it's okay, but if you're Ashkenazi and this is your custom, you have to know that the Ramah wouldn't appreciate this. And so you should probably not eat that, or you should probably not use those dishes. It happens to me all the time, almost every other day. But that's part of the job. That's why we're here.
Then you have Minhagim, which makes it much more complex, because you hear so many people saying, this is our custom, this is my custom. And it seems like that's even more divisive than Halacha, because Halacha at least has a science of study. I mean, I know there are books of Minhagim. I've seen one on Sephardic Minhagim.
Right.
It's really thick. But,
so in this regard, I'm a Rav Peretz, Nick, and we draw the line. After Rabbi Yosef Karo and after the Ramah, we If that's your custom, great. Don't expect me to know it. Meaning, I don't have an obligation to now dig through every village in Morocco and what was their custom. I don't know. I don't have a way. There's no method to study those things. Some of those things are not written in books. Some of those things are just, that's what's done or that's what's accepted. And so it could be that when you're dealing with a certain community you're not familiar with, you say, I don't know what that community's custom is. But at the end of the day, the normative halakha in the Sephardic world is Rabbi Yosef Karo, and the normative halakha in the Ashkenazi world is the Rama. Are there customs that are exceptions to that? Yes, but you can't know everything. That's the bottom line.
There's a big problem in the Balei Tshuva world because almost no one teaches, here are your options, here are the different people holding it to
options. You have options?
Yeah.
That's a big deal. People have options.
I know. Tell me about it.
Options means they have to have a brain to choose.
If you want to be firm, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. This is how we do it. This is how our community is. Boom, 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 boom.
I just had now a situation. Someone called me up. I'm trying to keep kosher. I said, you shouldn't be waiting between meat and milk. And the phone went quiet. Now, their biggest struggle was the reason they don't keep kosher is because they can't wait between meat and milk. They're just not going to do anything. I said, you're an Ashkenazi Jew. You know that the first opinion that Ramah brings down is that you don't have to wait. You just have to rinse your mouth out between meat and milk. Now, nobody does that anymore, I hope.
Right.
But what the Ramah is telling you is that's no longer a biblical prohibition of eating meat with milk. Or, at the very least, I normally tell people, wait an hour. An hour. According to all opinions, an hour is something. It's worth something. Yeah. Now, you who comes to Kollel, I'm not going to tell you to wait an hour. Right. But if someone's telling you, this is my struggle, because of this, I don't do kosher. So tell them, get over yourself. Keep an hour and keep moving. You have to know sometimes which rock to throw at the right place. And I'm sure there are other people. I'm sure this recording will be heard about one time. And someone will say, I can't believe you said that. And it's a crazy thing. But the truth is, that's now, my father's in the hospital. People say, you should space out the meals. They can't have the meat with the... My father is in the category of a sick person. Yeah. A sick person, most of the laws of kashrut, especially the rabbinic ones, no longer apply. Especially in a place where the Ramah is telling you the prevalent custom in Europe was 1 hour. A sick person can definitely rely on this custom. Definitely can rely on this custom. And so so is he Sephardic? Yes. So does my dad listen to me? I can't tell he listens to me. But I can tell you this, that a person has to know when to adjust things based on the different minhagim, the different interpretations. That takes knowledge, but knowledge means that you trust the person with information. And very often in the movement you just mentioned, we don't trust people with information. We can't let them think for themselves, or else what might happen? And that's already a flaw at the base of the movement.
The free thinkers.
So let's see here one last halakha on 260 before we do a footnote. Yesh medakdekim. Some are very strict. Shiyu tzitziot, that the strings of the tzitziot yotzot mitzida hachitzoni shel talit should come out from the outer side of the talit. V'yesh omrim she'en tzarich ledakdek b'zeh, and some say that you do not have to be strict about this. Meaning, I believe I'm understanding this correctly. According to the Ashkenazi opinion with two holes, where does the knot sit? On the outer side of the tzitziot or on the underside of the tzitziot?
Underside.
See, some say you don't need to worry about this at all, and some say it has to come from the outer side. And the knot has to sit on the outside, not on the inside.
I'll have to take a look.
Okay, you bring what I've seen always is on the outside.
I trust what you're saying.
Yeah.
Now, the one who says you don't have to be strict about this is the Baal Tanya, the author of the Tanya, the Shulchan Aruch Siman, the Rabbi Shneur Zalman of the Yadi. He said either way you go, it's okay. But you see there are some that were strict about this, Daulat Tamid, and so on and so forth. Maybe when Zev brings us in a pair like that, we'll look at it and we'll discuss it more. I wanted to do a footnote with you. On the bottom of page 258, in the middle of page 258 on the right hand side. Even though this halakha is not such a mainstream halakha, even in the Ashkenazi world, I want to read to you just so you know this custom, what it is, who does it, who doesn't do it. So you see on the right hand side, not the Rashi script, but the footnote in normal Hebrew script.
258?
258. The right hand is a small, it's like a little block.
Yeah.
Okay, it goes on to the left side of the page on 259. Hine, Maran HaBet Yosef. Maran in his book Bet Yosef, Hevi Divrei Baal HaYitur, brings down the words of the rabbi who wrote the book, the Itur. Shetzarich lasot shnei nekavim, that you must make 2 holes when you tie tzitzit. V'yetzu hatzitziot l'tzad echad, and they shouldn't sit on the corner, but they should come out of 2 holes. Now, my assumption is the Chabad custom that I showed you on the talit. I haven't seen it in their books inside why they do it. They're probably trying to make a compromise between 2 opinions. Do you remember what it looked like? Should I show it to you again? This talit.
There's a Chabad talit in the shul.
We've got a few of them.
It's undercover.
This one is my Chabad talit.
As opposed to over.
This one is my Chabad talit. I wore this for a few years of my life. You see here? How it has 2 holes.
Yeah.
And normally the Ashkenazi community would have the knot sit right here. Ignore this. They would just come out of these 2 holes and the knot would sit right here.
Like in the middle.
Okay? What they're doing is they have 1 string that goes through both holes and the rest sits on the corner. This is not the standard custom that he's shown. But they're probably trying to do a compromise between 2 holes and putting it on the corner. If I had to guess why they do it this way, that's probably the reason. Right? They're trying to fulfill the custom of 2 holes while also not getting rid of the concept of putting the tzitzit on the corner itself. If I had to guess, but you can look it up for me and find it. V'siyam HaBet Yosef, and the Bet Yosef concludes over there when he quotes his book, and this is my favorite kind of quote. The Ramah, by the way, when Rabbi Yosef Karo writes on the Bet Yosef for the first time, in the laws of Shabbat, actually not, laws of Shabbat, Reish Ayin Bet, maybe, around there. Maran writes that first you do Kiddush, and then you wash your hands for bread. Who does that at home? Everybody. You know, okay, so the Ramah says, I've never in my life seen somebody who does Kiddush before washing their hands. He says, rather, everybody first washes their hands, then does Kiddush, and then makes Hamotzi.
But then...
tell me what you're thinking right now.
Like wash your hands again
What
for
neighborhood is
bread.
he from?
Because there's a certain way you wash your hands for bread. Why would you wash your hands for Kiddush?
To get yourself, so you can do Hamotzi right after you do Kiddush.
Yeah.
That way you go, Borei Pri HaGefen, Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz. Think about how practical this would be. Instead of everyone getting their seat at Kiddush, and then getting up to wash their hands, and then coming back to take a seat. Instead, after done, everyone go wash your hands, come back here for a Kiddush and Hamotzi.
Yeah, so it's one thing. It's
Yeah.
a continuous thing.
Now the German Jews still do this. But the Ramah says, in my life, I have never seen someone first make Kiddush and then wash their hands for bread. My life, I've never heard of it. And so even now in Ashkenaz, that's how everybody does it, except for the Germans. So what happened between the Ramah's days and today, I have no idea. But this is a classic case where they'll see a halacha, and Maran says here, "U'me'olam lo ra'inu mish techashash ledavar ze klal." Says Maran, I have never in my life seen somebody take this opinion into consideration of having 2 holes in the corner of a tzitzis. I've never seen it in my life.
So, just getting back to the Shabbat Kiddush and the Motzi.
Yes.
Why would you say Motzi before Kiddush? Because...
You wouldn't say Hamotzi before Kiddush.
Oh, I thought...
You wash your hands, and in between the washing of your hands and doing Hamotzi...
But you're washing your hands for eating bread, not for the Kiddush.
Right.
Very good.
So then...
What else do you see from this halakha, by the way? What else can you learn from this halakha? Something you know about us. Were they careful not to interrupt between washing their hands and bread?
Yeah.
Not only did they speak, they said Kiddush and drink wine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I won't confuse Jews too much with their own history. So, Ukvar Amu Yerushalmi, our rabbis already told us in the Talmud Yerushalmi, Kol Makom Shalacha Rofefet, go to page 259 on the left side, Biadcha, anytime you're not sure which halakha to follow, do you make 2 holes or 1 hole? Tse ure'eh ma hatzibur noheg. Go out and look at what do the Jewish community, what do they do? You're not sure? Check what they do. Uvechama mekomot b'Talmud amru, in a number of places in the Talmud they say, Puk chazi, go out and see, mai amadavar, what are the people doing? Now, this is a mistaken thing to hear, so what do you do when halakha? You learn halakha from the way people act in the street. That's not true. Rather, if it says in the books of halakha, do this, that's what you do. But in a place where you're not sure what to do, then you go and look. Look what do people do in the synagogue? That's probably what you should be doing. This is a person, this is the Bet Yosef, Maran is writing this, a person who wants to be strict and make 2 holes just to fulfill both opinions. Mechzek yuhara, it looks as if he's trying to show off. Ve'eno min hamachmirin, he's not from those who are being strict, ela min hamatmihin, rather he's from those that are doing strange things. Ad kan lishono. Ulam, but, here's the big but. Besefer Shaar HaKavanot. In the book Shaar HaKavanot, written by Rabbi Chaim Vital, the student of the Arizal.
Yeah.
Uvesefer Pri Eitz Chaim. Ita, it's written there, Rabbi Chaim Vital writes, Sharabeinu Ha'ari, the Arizal himself, Nahag Lasot Shnei Nekavim Betalit Katan, had 2 holes in his small tzitzit. V'chen katav Bach, and the Bach, Rabbi Yoel Circus, writes this as well. The betalit katan, the leka lemechash lemechezek yuhara, because the talit katan is underneath your clothes and nobody will see it, you can't accuse me of showing off because nobody can see it. Kevan shu tachat abgadim yaseh shnei nekavim, because it's under my clothes, I can make 2 holes.
Unless you're like the Hasidim of Williamsburg,
Who wear it above their talit, their clothing. Very good.
We can make the argument.
So here, very good. Here, the Bach is saying, you're right, so I want to follow that result, but I also want to not get in trouble with the Bet Yosef. So I'm going to wear it only on my small tzitzit, and I'm going to make 2 holes. Now you know where the Ashkenazi custom of only putting it on the small tzitzit comes from. These are people who are following the Bach. They're somewhere in the middle.
Is this in the realm of like a compromise? One of the things
not a compromise. They're doing on their small tzitzit one way, and on their talit a different way.
Because it's niyut, you're saying?
But they don't want to be accused of showing off.
Well,
It's a serious allegation. People who are yuhara, we actually excommunicate them from the Jewish community. A person who's
we have
trying
plenty
to-
of opportunities now. Then, in
Yeah,
terms of
sure.
what we call what you like to call in this book, the foolish piety.
And by the way, I bring down in my book. Let's say I want to give you a case. I bring down. I think I have this in my book. Pitrei Tshuva. Yeah, I think so. He writes that if a piece of pig falls into chicken soup and it's nullified in 60, the person says, I don't want to eat it. I don't feel comfortable. He says that person, you have to excommunicate them from the Jewish community. He says you have no right to be stricter than the rabbis in the Talmud. So how could you say I don't want to eat something that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai would eat?
But if you for halakhic reasons.
For halakhic reasons.
Not because you don't like chicken soup with pork.
No, right? No, because you're saying that like I want to be extra kosher.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people would be excommunicated if the Pitrei Tshuva still lived? There'd be no more
90%.
Jews left in the synagogue. You'd have communities of we're the excommunicated ones. You know, like we're firmer than you because we were putting the cherem first. Like that's how it would come out.
Right.
So Baruch Hashem, that's not working out that way. Umaran Achida. The Chida writes in the Birkei Yosef. Now it's important for Sfaradim. The Chida is a very normative book of Kabbalistic halakha. So when he tells us what that Arizal really meant, we follow the Chida. He writes, Shehamaharash Vital, Rabbi Shmuel Vital. Rabbi Shmuel Vital is the son of Rabbi Chaim Vital, who is essentially the grand student of the Arizal. He writes, B'Hagat Shaar Kavanot Sham he gives testimony, Sha'aviv Rabbeinu Chaim Vital, that his father Rabbi Chaim Vital, the foremost disciple of the Arizal, Lo Nahag La'asot Ken Af Betalit Katan. He didn't make 2 holes even in his small tzitzit.
He did not?
He did not, meaning he did not follow his rabbi's custom. V'lachen, Af Hu Maharash Vital Lo Rata L'Hol Ken. It says, therefore, the Rav Shmuel Vital said, I also refused to put 2 holes because if my father didn't do it, even though the Arizal did it, there must have been a good reason why my father didn't do it. V'Hagaon Rabbi Yosef Chaim, B'Sefer Ben Ish Chai. Rabbi Yosef Chaim, who's that? The Ben Ish Chai, he writes, שבוודאי רבינו מרב חיים ויטל הבין מרבינו האריזל שאין דבר זה מעכב. Rav Chaim Vital learned from the Arizal, he must have known that this is not, it's not a requirement in fulfilling the mitzvah of tzitzit, having 2 holes. And the only reason that the Arizal did it, ורק רבינו האריזל אחר שנהג בכך בילדותו כמנהג האשכנזים, because the Arizal grew up Ashkenazi. Even though later in his life he changed over, because he grew up that way, he still, lo shina, he kept his custom the same way. ולקח גם רבינו מרב חיים ויטל לא שינה מנהגו. And therefore Rabbeinu Chaim Vital did not switch his custom either, because the only reason that Rizal did it was not because of any deep Kabbalistic reason. That's just the way he did it as a child.
That's quite an observation.
You
would assume that the Arizal would do something for all people.
And everything he did would have been a for reason. This was one of those customs left over.
It's interesting.
V'siyem ha-ben Ish Chai. And I'll give you a great example.
So he only lived to be 33 for the Arizal, is that correct?
In his 30s, maybe 34.
38
But
or
Yeah.
37.
Rav Chaim Vital only studied from the Arizal, do you know, for how long?
Like a month
For 2 years.
or 2 years. Yeah, well,
2 years he
small
was a
time.
student of this.
Slow.
But
Small
you know, it's
time.
not the first time in history we find Rabbi Tzadok HaKohen of Lublin. I forget right now the name of his Rebbe, a famous Hasidic Rebbe. He studied by his Rebbe for 8 months. He was a starch mitnaged, before he became a Hasid. 8 months later, he was already writing books of Hasidut. So there are some people that are just capable of absorbing the idea right away.
Well, how long did it take for the Arizal's revolution in his practice?
And I have a book at home of the history of the Arizal written by Rav Chaim Vital. And over there, it's actually, we can look it up, but what was the light? I learned it on Friday nights, so I'm like a very slow pace. I haven't gone through all of it yet. V'siyam ben Ish Chai, and therefore the Ben Ish Chai concludes, V'anachnu and us, meaning the Sfaradim, minhagenu la'asot nekev echad afilu b'talit katan. We have a custom to make one hole on our small tzitzit. V'shamati shegam etzel ha'chasidim b'Yerushalayim tebelen v'tikonen. I heard that even the pious ones in Yerushalayim, the Chasidim, he's not referring to fuzzy hats. The Chasidim are the Kabbalists of the old city in Yeshivat Beit El. Remember the video we saw? In Yeshivat Beit El. He says he required there, he had a good friend, Rabbi Eliyahu Mani, who was the Rosh Yeshiva of the Kabbalists, and they have many letters back and forth to each other. He said, he asked them, what do you do? Do you follow that? They're the students of the Arizal. And they said, Haminhag Pashut La'asot Nekev Echad. They also only make one hole. Ben b'talit gadol, ben b'talit katan, whether in a small tzitzit or a big tzitzit. And that was also supposedly the custom of the Rashash, Rabbi Shalom Sharabi, who was the foremost interpreter of the Arizal's writings in later times. The Kaf HaChaim Sofer, who was the chief Kabbalist of Jerusalem a generation before Rabbi Vadi Yosef, he wrote this was the custom in Jerusalem. They never made 2 holes in their tzitziot. The HaMishnah Bura in the Chavetz Chaim in Poland. He writes on his Mishnah Bura, Shem b'mdinat Polin, in the country of Poland, nitpashet haminhag la'asot shnei nekavim. The custom of making 2 holes had already spread out, and that's what people were doing. Aval b'mdinat Hagar, Hungary, uva-Ashkenaz ein nohagim ken. He says that in Hungary and in Germany, the Jews don't put 2 holes in their tzitzit, just 1 hole. V'nahara upashteh. He says, and either way you go is a kosher road. Meaning, no one is saying that the other way is not okay, aside from the Bet Yosef, by the way. He's the only one who's saying the other way is a strange way. But at the end of the day, they're all kosher. So you're not here talking about is it kosher or not kosher, but this is not one of those stringencies. Oh, there's one rabbi, we can fulfill his opinion by making 2 holes. In my years of wandering in Sephardic and Ashkenazi communities, I think I haven't seen Ashkenazim with 2 holes. It's always 1 hole. That's the normative Jewish practice. Yeah, there are some Hasidim I've seen. This is a classic case. When my wife and I got married, my wife was famous for telling me, oh, the reason we Hasidim do something is because that's what the Kabbalists say we should do. That's the Arizal. It's all according to the Arizal. I would tell you, I respect you and what you're doing, but the Ben Ish Chai is like the gung-ho reincarnation of the Arizal. Rabbi Chaim Vital, the Rashash, these are our rabbis who, before Hasidim even knew that they existed, they followed the Arizal. And if they didn't tell us to do something, and if the Hasidim say they're doing something according to Kabbalah, but the Kabbalists are not doing it, then something is off here. And I'm not going to tell you that the Kabbalists are in the wrong, rather it must be the other way around. So if the Hasidim say, we're interpreting this to mean 2 holes, they can tell me that the reason they do it is because of the Baal HaItur. That's a correct approach. But they shouldn't sell it as we're doing it like the Arizal, because the students of the Arizal say that he didn't do it intentionally, he just did it because that's the way he was raised. Any way you go, both of them are kosher, but I thought this is an important point to bring out today.
The Jews were brought together after, say, World War II. How much knowledge was there of different minhagim and different approaches, other than books?
Books.
I mean, did you ever see, Ashkenazim coming through Sephardic countries?
Yes, you did. You do. For example, the Chida was very famous. The Chida spent much of his life in Europe fundraising for printing books and for yeshivot, and you had these people. They're called shadars, shluchei d'Rabbanan. They were messengers of the rabbis of Jerusalem, the rabbis of Tzfat. You know, a rabbi in Poland had a yeshiva. He needed to fundraise, so he would send, like you have today, people come knocking on the doors, but they were serious rabbis. They would send them to other countries to teach, and they would collect funds and send them back to the countries which they came from. You find, especially in later years, that there was this cross-pollination, not as heavily as we have today. Everyone's living together, we know each other, and so some communities were more knowledgeable about other communities, and some were less. The book that I'm reading now by Rabbi Yosef Masas, what's so fascinating about him is in the 1800s, he is writing articles for the Hasidic Satmar newspaper in Hungary, sending in articles from Morocco to Hungary. He stopped writing articles for them the moment, probably in the 1900s, or like 1900 something, he was writing articles. He stopped writing when he fought with them about Rav Kook. They put down Rav Kook in the early years of Rav Kook's career, and he told them that they should burn down their own magazine, and he didn't want to have anything to do with them. But you don't hear about this so much, but there clearly were, you'll find in Morocco or in other countries, sure, some Hasidic rabbi came through and left us books and so on and so forth. Rav Peretz, one of the books that we studied by him, it's a book on Kabbalah. It's called the Sefer HaBrit. It's from Vilna. Rav Pinchas Halevy Horowitz of Vilna. I said, Rav Peretz, how did you get this book? He said, when his father was traveling, he would travel to different countries. He brought back from Europe a copy of this book and gave it to his son as a gift. Wow. And so you find that there was, but not like today. You don't find people that really understood the other countries and their customs and how it worked, aside from the books of halakha that were printed and sent out to the different corners of the world.
I saw in your house of the Vilna Gaon on Kabbalah were just, you would never ever suspect.
Right. It's not what they tell you about him. Right. That's why I keep those books around.
Like we said, everything in this world, there's always a more subtle way of seeing it. If you get caught in one level of looking at things, that's what creates dogma, that's what creates division, that's what creates politics.
I'm fascinated. My whole style of learning is I'm fascinated by the different customs and how they both contradict each other and complement each other. There are times where you sometimes need to know the Ashkenazi approach to understand what the Sfaradim are even saying. Because it's like a diamond. You have to polish them against each other. That's the only way you can do it. You can't polish it against the wall.
Even on Pesach?
Even on Pesach.
You said the Arizal changed from being Ashkenazi to Sephardic.
Yeah, one of first. He lived in Tzfat, and Tzfat was a predominantly Sephardic community, and if you were a Kabbalist, how much more so? The Arizal felt very much that Ashkenazi tradition was not in line with Kabbalah. And since he was a Kabbalist, he had to change. There were exceptions to that rule. The Arizal prayed on high holidays with an Ashkenazi synagogue. Because he felt that on high holidays, when you're asking Hashem to forgive you, your greatest merits come from your ancestors, and he felt that there was a certain connection with his ancestors that he needed. So, interesting enough, he wrote the Sephardic Siddur, but the ones for the high holidays that he didn't pray from. He had his own. He went to and that's why if you go to Tzfat today, you'll find there are two Arizal synagogues right next to each other. Arizal Ashkenaz, Arizal Sephardic. And that's who the Arizal was. I mean, they're always fighting with each other. Who's the real Arizal synagogue? But anyone who knows the Arizal knows he was both. He was both and neither, and that's why everyone likes him so much.